to the Daily Deep Cut, brought to you by the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Hope you're all having a fine morning so far. Some of you are even in the afternoon, depending on where you're at. Hope Tuesday is treating you well. Got a fun treat today, talking about the Strokes. Looking forward to this. And there was a number of songs, actually, that I threw around, thought about for this piece, but ultimately, Automatic Stop. It's just, from the moment I've heard that song, from the moment I threw on Room on Fire, I remember buying the record, listening to it with friends, just all gathered around, all just smoking a joint, chilling out while we were in college. And, the first four songs on this record are just bangers. I mean, I think the record from start to finish really is quite an impressive part of their catalog. But the first four songs, I mean, it reminds me, the first album that comes to mind that I think of is Weezer and their debut record, the Blue Album. Just one strong track after another, finally leading into the hit single. Now, I know Reptilia was a single, so you got two there in the first four, but, you start off with My Name is Jonas, and then I Want a Girl, No One Else, and then you have The World Has Turned and Left Me here, leading into Buddy Holly on that record. On this particular record, I love, it opens up with Whatever Happened, you get Reptilia, and then before 1251, you have Automatic Stop. And I think that there's these nuances, there's, little things in the guitar playing from Albert Hammond Jr. and both Nick Valencia as well, stylistically. They're tiny nuances, but you can just tell that there's more technique, there's more skill associated with their playing. Fabrizio Moretti, their drummer especially, I feel like there's more fills, there's more complexity to the rhythms and to the grooves that he's established on this record. Now, a lot of people have criticized it over the years. Pull up that graphic. There's the boys, a little older than they might have been when they put out this record, but this is a record that it's received a lot of criticism over the years for sounding basically like Is This It Part 2? And I love this quote. There's a critic that says, this album represents a purity of vision and not the death of new ideas. And I love that. When the Strokes broke out onto the scene, they were one of a kind. I think the world was craving, begging for something different. We've talked about this quite a bit recently, actually, focusing on 90s alternative music and now songs in the 2000s, which the Daily Deep Cut, I gotta remind you guys, Daily Deep Cut focuses on a theme throughout the week. So this week's theme is alternative music from the 2000s decade. And I will add, please like and share, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to super chat me, drop in some comments if you got anything to say about this record, or if you even feel like leaving a little pocket change for me. That always goes a long way. I always appreciate any type of contributions that you guys provide to the channel. But not the death of new ideas. And I love that. I love the idea of developing a style, developing a sound, and working with it, carving out your niche with that and growing within it. Now, Is This It? Featuring, Last Night. Last Night's probably the biggest song of that decade. I'm not going to necessarily say it's the best, but as far as the impact that track had and the way that it drove alternative music for the next 10 years and even up till now is remarkable. It's unfortunate that I was reading an article recently that basically the song is dead to Julian Casablancas. He's not a fan of performing it anymore. He's moved on, and I get that as an artist, as someone who continues to create. I would hate to book a show or book a tour and have to sit there, especially a tour. If you're playing 30, 40 shows night after night, and you're just playing the same music over and over again, it gets to a degree where it becomes kind of soulless. And that's basically what he said. He's like, there's just not this feeling, this energy that I want to be there when I play this song, wanting to enjoy those new compositions, enjoy the time spent on the work that has happened in the last 10 years or so. So who even knows what the future holds for the Strokes? The New Abnormal came out back in 2020. I haven't heard any plans of this band releasing new material anytime soon, which is unfortunate. But these records, I would say they've aged incredibly well. I still throw on Is This It, Room on Fire quite a bit, actually. They're a couple of my favorites. And this band live too. There's, I love the flair, the edge that's there, but there's also this insouciance, this casual, nonchalant approach to maybe not even just the music, but almost life itself. And again, that's had its issues with the band as well. You talk about Julian and his father, talk about Albert Hammond Jr., his dad, Albert Hammond, great musician there. These are a group of cats that I think often gets ridiculed for having everything already put there in its place and just riding that wave, and I completely disagree. I think that these are 5 cats that have an incredible dynamic. It's really cool to see them all still together making music. And they've earned their right. They've earned their keep. They have worked hard, toured hard, made some of the most impactful, enjoyable music of the last 25 years, I'd argue. And so Automatic Stop coming in there at number 3 on the track list, A Room on Fire. A lot of people, I got to bring it up because you get on Reddit, you get into other chat rooms, and a lot of people refer to this as the bye song. It's there. I think that there's hints of flirting with that idea, and especially you think about the influence of a band like the Velvet Underground on this outfit, Lou Reed hanging out with Iggy Pop, David Bowie, all those guys bringing influence. They lived a pretty wild lifestyle back there in their heyday. I imagine there was probably some of that going on, and who knows, there could have been some of that going on with the Strokes early on when they were younger. It certainly doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. I think what matters is that they are open about the perspective. I think that that's what made their music appealing in a lot of ways to a more modern, younger generation. This idea of being so upfront and honest about something that is otherwise, back then, I would say a little taboo. I think it depends on what circles you were in, what city, what place you grew up in. There was probably some places where it was maybe kind of normal, just kind of an everyday occurrence, versus I know that in conservative Prescott, Arizona, where I grew up, that probably wouldn't have been the case. It probably wouldn't have been met with the same open-mindedness that it was in other spots. But he starts off by saying, so many fish there in the sea, I wanted you, you wanted me, that's just a phase, it's got to pass, I was a train moving too fast. It's I love that opening stanza, that opening 4 lines, and just, I wanted you, you wanted me. It could be any 2 individuals. I think more than anything, what's striking about this song is finding that person, and that person not reciprocating the same feelings that you have, because we've all been there. We've all been in love with someone that just didn't love us, and it's a frustrating feeling. You try anything in your playbook to appeal to this person, to make their feelings shift, but at the end of the day, that's not how it works. It's like, you can buy someone an island and fly them there on a G6, and it doesn't mean that they're going to fall in love with you, nor are they obligated to. And so this the opening of this track, I like the general universal nature of it. I think the theme there ultimately driving this track, that idea of love not being reciprocated, is first and foremost the agenda of this song, and I've always really enjoyed it for that reason. You got that staccato riff that opens this thing up, and it's from the moment I heard that, like I said, it just my jaw just dropped. It just shocked me. I was immediately drawn into the song. It's relaxed. It almost kind of floats and drifts, but it has the staccato style gives the note this edge. It gives it this urgency and this balance there. And I love that. I love that combination of relaxed and chaotic. The jaunty groove sets in. I love when that second guitar comes in, along with Nikolai's bass. It's just he's one of my favorites. I've always loved some of the unique riffs that he'll throw down. And then there's times when he knows, like how to compliment, how to keep it simple, how to not overthink it. And that's one of my favorite things about him as a bass player, the back and forth, the moments in those songs. Reptilia is another great example of a song where like the verses, not a complicated bass riff to play, but then you get into that pre-chorus and the chorus, and that's a hell of a riff that he's thrown down. So I love the different work that he's performing on Automatic Stop. And I think the biggest thing, I mentioned the Velvet Underground, I think a band like Television as well. I mean, it's tough not to make comparisons to New York bands that driven by punk influence. There is that garage rock influence that's there. But then I also think of the Cars, which is funny, talking about Weezer and Rick Ocasek and his influence on that band, production on the Blue Album. And I love the way that the synths are going to work in this record. There's a number of songs, Automatic Stop being one, but The End Has No End is another example of these synths that they're very Cars-esque, and I love that. I love the influence driving their sound in that particular regard on this record. But getting back to the lyrics here, didn't understand what to see. Yeah, then I got a different view. It's I like, great line as well. Really strikes me as someone who, reflecting on a situation, reflecting on a relationship, changing their mind, changing their views and their feelings. And that's something that happens very often too. I feel many of us have probably been in that spot where you do anything and everything. You try your damnedest to no avail, right? And then all of a sudden, for some reason, a year down the road, this person's like, you know what? I was wrong. I think I love you. And it happens. It happens a lot. I think one of my favorite stories is I got a buddy of mine who his mom dated this guy when they were in college, and then they split off, and she got married. She had her family, my buddy and his sister, and his parents got divorced. And then all these years later, the two reunited, and now they're married, happily living out their lives. It was just like it had to have been maybe like a 35-year block of time, maybe even 40 years before they reconnected and realized that they were the person for each other. It's just how life works out sometimes, which, don't hold your breath. Don't lose hope. I think that as long as you're here, as long as you're doing you, there's always a chance for the things that you want to come around, or the people that you want to come around. And so another thoughtful insight on this track, I would argue, when a lot of people would say that it's just kind of surface level, kind of about relationship tensions, being young, not knowing. And I think in a lot of cases, oftentimes, as we get older too, it's stuff like this, stuff that we've written when we were younger, things that we did when we were younger, that you don't want to, you don't want to necessarily like rest your laurels on that stuff and like continue those habits, but it is important to reflect and to ponder and to learn. Maybe there was something that went down. Maybe there's something that you said, something you wrote that, at the time it made sense, but now with a different perspective, you've changed. And it's not to say that should, that work should be buried, that it should be lost. It's there to remind you that the different person that you are, the different perspectives that you have, are there for a reason. Wait, I'm not going to give it a break. I'm not your friend. I never was. I said, wait, I'm not going to give it a break. I'm not your friend. I never was. And then it gets to this area of like brutality as far as the chorus. And it almost feels like the perspective has shifted. Like the first part of the song is an individual addressing their interest, so to speak, and then the chorus is a response. What I love about the chorus is the way that the synth play comes in, and that's really getting that feel of the Cars, just that rolling kind of undulating synth that is there. And what's even more impressive is that signature riff that comes in. Didn't understand what to see. Then I got a different view. No, it's you. That riff comes in. Just that it's almost like this tremolo style, just rapid fire thing. Very signature sounding though. It's one of those riffs that maybe note wise it's simple. The playing of it is probably a little more complex, but it's so unique. and so signature that, I mean, if you're a band and you have the ability to write songs that hit that way, you know you're doing it right. And then it goes back. So many fish live in the sea. You get that staccato riff to kind of make a break in the middle of the song, and then it gets back to the way it opens. So many fish there in the sea. She wanted him, he wanted me. That's just a phase. It's got to pass. I was a train moving too fast. So then there's the shift in she wanted him, he wanted me, and I think that's where most people's opinions drift to the idea that, oh, there's some mixed play in here, and it's, you know, it's hard to not interpret that when you read those lines. And again, I think that the fact that they were willing to talk about it in such a casual fashion, and I think that fashion matches the music that's at hand here. This song it's really chill, it's really laid back, but again, the staccato elements, there's this urgency that's created by the sharp notes that carry throughout this track. Yeah, I know you warned me, but this is too important, and now I got a different view. It's you, and then it just goes right into it. Why can't you wait? I'm not going to give it a break. I'm not your friend. I never was. I said, you wait. I'm not going to give it a break. I'm not your friend. I never was. And it just finishes on this big soaring was, and those synths are just playing in the background, rolling along, and it ends. I mean, this is a rapid fire track. It comes at you hard. It comes at you with that signature kind of that signature Strokes production sound, which I want to finish this thing by saying that the band started off working with Nigel Godrich on this project. It's so funny too. We were talking about him with Interpol, talking about him now, and the Strokes, I mean, they worked for a few months, and that was pretty much it. Like Nigel and Nigel even said, Julian Casablancas, the two of us are too much alike. We want too much control over the process. Being the main songwriter for the band, wrote every song on this record except for Automatic Stop, actually. Automatic Stop was co-written with guitarist Albert Hammond Jr. So there's that funny little tidbit of information that I think makes this song unique and interesting. And then, you know, after parting ways with Nigel, they bring back original producer Gordon Raphael, who, I mean, he's the one who helped these guys hone in on that signature sound on Is This It? I think bringing him back is a part of the reason that most people will call this album Part 2, Room on Fire. But at the end, the development of that synth play, the development of Fabrizi as a drummer, I feel like, his presence on this record is something that, you know, talk about the growth of instrumentation. Fabrizio is fire on this record. I'm going to use that pun totally intended there. But that sound that Gordon helped them develop and the way that he helped them grow off of it, you know, it was great to see the band branch out after this record, for better or for worse. And who even knows if they'll make another album. I feel like the trajectory of the outfit following Room on Fire led to a lot of music that was solid, but not necessarily as exciting or as well received. And who knows, it could be one of those things where in years we backtrack and we reflect in hindsight on these projects and they're like, they're maybe better than we thought. And I'm going to close out with Pitchfork. I love to rag on them from time to time. They gave Room on Fire an 8.0 when it first came out, but then they upped its score and gave it a 9.2. And they even says, you know, the second album was received as a minor letdown because it supposedly sounded too much like the band's debut, Is This It? I think that at the end of the day, when you're in the moment, when you're wanting something, when you have expectations, it can skew your perspective on the quality of something. And I'm probably guilty of that too, no doubt. I think there's albums that I've talked about that, if I go back, I'd probably have a different opinion about a lot of them, actually. And I have done that. I had definitely revisited stuff and been like, I was wrong. And at some point when I get more time, I definitely will make an effort to revisit records, stuff that I maybe reviewed negatively, probably more often than not, to see if it has an impact, to see if it lands now. You never know. But I think at the end of the day, with an outfit that has a signature sound, there's that idea, again, of purity of vision, not death of new ideas. And if someone is carved out their niche and they're doing something special, I mean, I could have heard them make Is This It Part 3, 4, 5, and honestly totally been happy. I don't think that they would have been happy as artists. I think they would have hit a point where they were looking for growth, looking to branch out, looking to do something different. That's why Julian Casablancas is in Voids. And, all these guys, it's been a minute since I've checked in, but I'm sure they all have stuff that they're doing on the side outside of the Strokes to keep themselves busy, to keep themselves in the creative mode. But I love the way that this band, with these 2 records, with this album, and with this song in particular, I think that Automatic Stop is a signature track that really takes you to a time and place, and that is the early 2000s, where alternative rock had become the king and would be king for years to come. Unfortunately, music goes through its shifts, it goes through its phases, and there's been times where alternative rock hasn't necessarily been that great, or it's been influenced in certain regards that, for me personally, it just doesn't hit. But I know that when it comes to psychedelia, garage rock, punk, and a combination of all these things, the Strokes, it's hard for them to miss. So you guys enjoy Automatic Stop, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and tune in tomorrow for one more track, one more final deep cut for the week before we end it. But in the meantime, take it easy. We'll see you later.